A grateful nation thanks you. The example of those whose final act was to sacrifice themselves for those they loved should inspire all of us to show more love every day for the people who grace our lives.
Grew up working class in a place they call the Bronx. Learned on the corner about the school of hard knocks. Found out his rap could be his salvation. Well, now he's talking all across the nation. It's the Ed Tyll Show. It's the Ed Tyll Show. Come on, everybody. It's Ed Tyll. Now that you tuned him in, you know what I mean. People call him up, discussing every scene. Love him or hate him, he's gonna have his say. He's gonna speak his mind each and every day. It's the Ed Tyll Show. It's the Ed Tyll Show. Come on, everybody. It's Ed Tyll.
All right, you got your update on news, weather, traffic, sports. You're all caught up. Even breaking news there with the president making some very touching remarks about that just incredible loss suffered by families and victims and survivors, and, you know, just unspeakable Monday start off the week. Our next guests are here to talk about the glass ceiling that you cannot see. You know, the phrase has been around since I was a kid. And Hillary had it in the election parlance, so everybody pretty much uses this phrase. I think sometimes, they're maybe not so much aware of just how this can be anywhere, anytime, how random it can seem to be. But, you get close to a corporate culture and you go, oh, here's another invisible barrier to the progress of an account executive, an operations person who keeps putting in incredible time and sacrifice, not getting anywhere at all, and this can't be. Then someone does leapfrog you in either money, title, responsibility, or both, or all three, and then you're kind of perplexed. Then you're a little bit stumped and demotivated, and we certainly understand that experience. Our guests are going to talk to us about what's really going on out there. Ro and Don Polzinski, welcome back to the Ed Tyll Show on Starcom Radio Network.
Hi, Ed. It's great to be back.
Great to be with you, Ed.
You know, it's not as obvious as people would think it would be based on the familiarity and the casual use of the words glass ceiling. Let's give it more definition. What do you guys want to share with us today that listeners are going to be surprised to hear?
The main thing is, as you were saying, with the account manager, the account reps, you might be in your job. Someone passes you and they get the promotion. They get the raise. And you feel stuck and you don't know why. And it really is an invisible barrier. You don't know why. Other people can see it because that's why you're passed over.
Yeah, it's the nature of a glass ceiling. It's transparent. It's something that ceiling is right over our heads, but when we look up, we look right through it. And that's the thing. It's so transparent. It's the reason why we can't self-diagnose.
Now, there were some of these in the old days, right? Like, you were never going to get ahead of the birth order of, say, the founder of the company, if you want to use the Ford model. But just a lot of companies in the world have been incredibly unfair to people outside their bloodline in there. I want my son, I want my daughter. So that we're familiar with. But what are some of the unexpected reasons for a transparent barrier? You can't see it, It's not happening in front of you. It doesn't manifest at the water cooler. Or maybe you guys are going to tell us it does. We got to be more observant. We don't know what we're looking for. Maybe it is at the break room. What are we missing?
We would say one of the biggest areas is personal brand, how you present yourself, your social media communications, how you dress, and the way you dress. We're really seeing that influx in the workplace today. You know, that old adage, dress for the job you want, not for the job you have, is really true. It still holds true. So how you speak, your education, everything about you just are so accustomed to, you kind of forget that, well, what does everyone else see in me? What's the view that they have of me? Because that's really your brand. And that can so get in the way. And boy, that ceiling lowers when it is.
And people are generally unaware of their own attitudes. Mm-hmm. Attitudes are invisible, yet very, very powerful. Either they're the attitudes, things that move us forward, or oftentimes it's our own attitudes that are holding us back. But yet the people around us, they're clearly aware of our attitudes. While we're so desensitized, we don't have a clue.
Now, how do we do that? Because you think when you're early on in a company or interviewing process, you're on all your P's and Q's. You know what your P's and Q's are. You got in there. Now, granted, there could be change in leadership and there's a whole new world and maybe you're thrown by that. But absent something like that, what is it? People get weary of being on their best behavior. They start to get proprietary with the cubicle. It's too many, calendars and doodads on the wall. Productivity levels down. What seems to erode after you start out on your best behavior early on?
There's a key to all of this. And what erodes it is if we expect our employees, our team members, to fully be invested in the organizational mission, to move the organizational forward, if they don't feel that the organization in turn has their back, if they don't feel like they can get their personal missions fulfilled, you're losing them. And that's where employee engagement is such an issue. The Gallup study was perfect because it said 67% of Americans are either not engaged or not actively engaged in their workplace. That's 2 out of 3. Why? Because they're not having their personal needs met.
Yeah, a person joins a new organization and they're all gung-ho, they're excited, and then when their manager doesn't invest in them, doesn't take an interest, doesn't want to get to know them as a person and what they want out of life, quickly, that company tarnishes. And why would you want to give your best to a company that oftentimes doesn't care about you, or at least the manager doesn't care about you?
The empathetic workplace concept is controversial. I know you guys know this because you're out there, right? You're hearing both sides of this. 67% is a horrible grade for people not caring. That's not where we want to see 2/3 of people. But, I'm from an old era. So to me, the big picture looks like this recession put the kibosh on anything. Effectively, no one's gotten a raise. I mean, unless you've been very fortunate and you've had promotions during this era. That's different. But if you're still a regional director, the chances are your salary has not moved much. Incentives have been maybe even tightened, a little more difficult for you to. So it hasn't been a good era for the real faithful employee, because it's been a little bit of a flat situation in the most important area, household income.
Oh, exactly. And think about it. Prices have certainly gone up. Go to the grocery store. It's amazing. And there's another added dimension to this, though. We talk about the millennials. Well, and they have their own mindset. And granted, right now, they're entering the workforce, so they may be a little outnumbered, but that's going to change. And right behind them, it's called the I generation. For the mobile devices, it's literally a small I generation.
Right.
And both of them, the I generation and the millennials, they have to know the why. They have to know why they're doing something.
Yeah.
It's not only
Right.
what's in it for them in the
Right.
mercenary way,
Right.
but what's in it for them and how they're going to make an impact.
Yeah, exactly.
They
yes.
see themselves as being a whole human being, a person, not as a unit of production. And
Right.
if you treat them as a unit of production, you won't keep them, you won't engage them, and they're not going to be productive.
It's amazing. It really is remarkable. Now, when you get feedback from people who are a little bit lost on this concept, they're saying, geez, are you creating a problem where there is no problem here? Isn't this we're in a competitive capitalistic society. There should be people should expect adversity. I know the one thing that Mark Cuban loves to say on that Shark Tank, when someone's up there and he hits them with a question, and they answer him with the words, we have a plan. We have a plan. We've thought this through. And he says to them, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. then you don't have a plan because you're on the floor. The papers are all over the place. You're stunned. You had no idea. So this is, you know what I mean? What you used to get from the employer-employee relationship. And today, you can be let go anytime, anywhere, any place. Millennials shouldn't feel at all the way the hirees of the early 60s and early 70s did. Those folks were really joining something. Mm-hmm. Today, we're commoditized in every way, right? I mean, the phone center is in someplace not the United States. whatever the cheapest country of the week is pretty astounding to them. So, I don't blame them for that. But how did he get this thing turned around back into the richness of the employment experience that once was? Are we going to just say goodbye to all that? Is it just going to have to be, business will do its thing. I look out for me. We're on the same general page. But let's face it, the jobs are going away. Everything's automating. There's no more jobs like Uncle Bill. Uncle Bill had a great suit. You know what I mean? That world seems to be not there for them.
It is and it isn't. The traditional jobs might be going away, but there's still, you look at service companies, professional agencies, they're always going to exist. And the ones that really strive for this higher level of employee engagement, the ones that will find out what the career aspirations are, what do they need in education, how to help them with personal brand, those are all layers of that glass ceiling. The ones that give the employees the tools and help them to shatter it, they're going to not only retain the top talent, they're going to attract the top talent and thrive because they won't be worried about attrition. They won't be worried about customers complaining. I mean, think about it. How many times have you gone into a store recently or at a restaurant and the customer service is terrible? I was in retail at 16 years old. We didn't act like that.
No, same here. But here's I think I don't know. Maybe you guys have a good way for me to look at this. McDonald's is going all kiosk. I would prefer at places like where I shop, the Gap, Banana Republic, Foot Action. Get my sneaker. Best Buy. I would prefer if nobody came around. I would love to swipe and walk. I'm not big on click because I'm old school. I like to hold it. But once I really like this thing, it would be so awesome if no one came near me. And maybe I saved $1 for that.
Right.
Maybe I'm making their life really easy. So
we're not talking about that type of business. We're really talking about nabbing those college graduates and those professional roles and really the ones that are driving this country forward. If you want the top talent, you've got to have a top package.
Right.
And for most organizations, one of their biggest challenges is finding great hires. Keeping talent and finding great new talent is, for most businesses, their biggest challenge.
Well, you can imagine, right? I mean, it's got to be the highest burnout in America's got to be sales. where there's all
Yeah.
kinds of psychological collapses at 42. You know, somewhere in that 7-room house is a nervous breakdown for sure. So we get that. I mean, you know, we have been overproducing. They hit us every year. We never listen, but we work more hours than anybody on the planet. I don't know how much happier that's making us, but we can't stop working. And this eye thing, I'm not a fan of that phone being on 24/7. I even run a company, and I'm very uncomfortable answering a service call 9:30 at night, even though I know this is going to be, thank you, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, something's wrong here, but this is what we do,
And not only that, this is what future generations will do.
But
This
I guess
is
there you go.
changing.
Now you're hitting my lament, which is it was supposed to get better. It's getting
it's not a matter
worse.
of better
yeah.
or worse. I think it's different, and I think
Well,
we
it
have to
feels
embrace
worse.
that difference.
that difference certainly feels worse. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm too quick to judge it. But I'll tell you, it's empty and vacant a little bit. It's got a little bit of that tone to it.
Well, and what we're doing, though, I want to interrupt, is we're trying to put the human side back in.
Right.
We're trying to encourage managers and executives and business owners. Hey, we get it. You don't want to be the personal side. There are outside coaches, consultants, training programs, mentors.
Right.
Find what works for your company and bring it in. Because just that act of showing those key employees who want that level of engagement, who want the outside advice, the career development, the brand help, they're going to be so much more engaged because they will feel like you care.
It's right. It's certainly brand new for it not to be now. You get your paycheck. Here's your parking space. We'll see you Monday. Can I tell you
different.
about my wife's pregnant? No. Can I tell you about the big birthday party? No. Here's your check. Have a nice weekend. That's what your family's for. We don't want to bring your joys in life, your ups, your downs, your allergies, your quirks, your dietary requirements in the break room, all unwelcome. We like people who are self-sufficient. You do all this stuff in the car, build yourself a special car, come into this building, 100% on us. We will be 100% behind everything you do for us. But anything you do that's not for us, we don't consider any of our business. That's
And
that's tough.
That's going to be
tough.
the issue, though, with the millennials and the I generation. And even some of the younger Gen X's,
Right.
that's going to be the issue. You're going to lose them.
Right.
They cannot flip that switch
That's
at 8
right.
o'clock in the morning and shut off home.
And they have a choice of organizations to work for, and the organization that engages them and cares about them and takes an interest in their life and does care about what their food allergies are and what they're doing over the weekend, that's the company they're going to choose to work for.
Well, see, that's the thing. You got to ask yourself, is that really what a professional does? Are we taking George Costanza into our office here? Or what's his name? I love NYPD Blue. Medavoy was like this. When the woman broke up with him, I'm sick of your food allergies, and you're this, and you're that, and all day it's with you.
Let me put it in a nutshell.
Yes,
we're going to put it in a nutshell.
Help me.
Owners and managers of organizations need to become stewards of their employees. Stewards.
Wow.
And that means taking an interest in all facets of their employees' lives.
And if not, they need to get that outside help, that coaching, that mentoring, those resources to do it.
Well, you
At
can
least
bet.
have it offered.
You can bet. I mean, honest to goodness now, most small businesses are certainly going to need help with this. I mean, you do have the rare person who's such a Renaissance person that they can do all of this in addition to what they're doing. But yeah, this is a serious commitment. Do we see old examples of this? Were there microcosms in the 40s and 50s and 60s where when this kind of thing happened, we would see skyrocketing results? because Google did this whole sales job with the peanuts and the M&Ms and the massage and the break room bicycle, kind of thing. And you go, oh, yeah, I don't know. Was that?
I feel like that's different because what we're saying is addressing the employees on a deeper level. Those are just kind of fun day-to-day things.
Right.
We're talking about where do you see your career in 5 years and how can I help you get there? Or what resources can I get you to get there? If you're going to retire in 10 years, how close are you? And there are companies that bring in financial advisors and financial planners and offer that. There's companies that have the employee assistant programs, the EAPs.
At what level?
We're trying to go on
Right.
a deeper level here.
I got you. I got that. At what number of employees can you guys impact if you're the team that went in there? Now, people should go to www.changingyourequation.com. That's the title of the book, Changing Your Equation. But what size business is ripe for a team comes in and gets this going? First of all, shows you what hasn't been happening, gets you the feedback from the employees, lays it out with ownership, looks at reforms that you can put in, and say maybe in 6 to 12 months, we have the situation has been righted. Where does it start? Employees of 12, 15, 25, 100?
All of it. I literally have a small business owner client she's a sole owner, and she has about 5 to 10 employees at a given time of year, all the way up to I have a multi-million-dollar company with hundreds of employees. The key is to find who works with your company best and how they can tailor those programs.
Don, you have to be...
This is a universal issue.
Right. That's it. I was going to say, Don, you got to be the guy that the guy down the hall wants to say, hey, you got a second? Could we just step in the office? And is going to tell you now, yeah, Marianne and I, we've been together for 17 years. We're divorcing. This is really tough. I'll probably be looking a little rank in the morning when I come in on my brother's couch. He's got cats. I'm allergic to them. I can't say anything. I'm staying there for free. I'll be dopey because I'm on the, analgesic all day. But trust me, you know what I mean? There's a guy that you will be comfortable speaking that way with. Am I right?
Oh, definitely. You nailed it.
Absolutely. And that might be a third person. That might be the manager saying, hey, you look like you're going through a rough patch. Why don't you reach out to Don? He's a resource for our company, and I think he'll really be able to help you. Because then the employee also might feel like sharing more because it's this neutral third party. And then Don can report back to the company, I got this covered, not giving the details, but he's got some personal issues. I'm directing him where to find the right resource.
There you go. It's funny, we did have this in elementary school because we could go to the principal and shut the door, and it was like, whatever, Billy's beating me up for my lunch money, or I got yelled at by the crossing guard, or, whatever second grade shake of your world is going. And then, right? In
college, you have your residence advisors, the ones that lived on every floor with the students.
That's it, the RA.
They kept an eye on the new students who were first time living in a dorm. We've had those at different stages of our life. We need to have them in work.
Don, what's it like to have chemistry with your partner in the mix? You know what I mean? I guess you guys must be so well cued as to, how you complement one another, how your two personalities click together. What's that like? I'm a solo act. In radio, they're always like, Ed, you need a partner, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I really don't. I'm fine. But I truly admire people who understand the nuance of that partnership, especially in the work that you do, which is problem solving.
Right.
Solution creation, yeah.
Right. Well, we always say two heads are better than one. And here's the real lowdown. We understand our own strengths and weaknesses, and we know how to leverage each other's strengths. So when we add up 1 plus 1, we get 3, 4, or 5. That's the real key to success.
Wow. I love it. That's beautiful. Well stated. I'm thinking to myself, but boy, if I could pull that off in life, that would be so awesome. But beautiful.
And it can be done. And that's something we teach, how to take a number of people, if you leverage all their strengths, you come up with something really, really powerful.
That's
People
what I mean.
can't
That number.
play to their weaknesses.
I love that number, though. Imagine you get two great people together, and to the power of 5.
Exactly.
You've now risen. That's very exciting. All right, you guys are awesome. Thank you, as always, for being.
Thank you.
You're awesome too, Ed. We love being on your show.
It's such a great topic, and you guys are so good at it. So I'm so glad that we, again, had some time today. ChangingYourEquation.com. That's the website where you can get the new book, Changing Your Equation, from Roe and Don Polzinski. The glass ceiling you cannot see is there. Thanks also for redirecting our attention to the recent Gallup survey. Should be alarming to everyone who owns or manages a business out there. 67% of American workers not thrilled about their company's mission. Our guests have a formula to turn that around at your company. Seriously, if you are feeling what we're talking about, go to ChangingYourEquation.com. That's www.ChangingYourEquation.com. Get the book, and we look forward to having Roe and Don back on the show again soon. They're perfect for this time of year where it's like we got a lot of work to do between now and the first of the year. Everybody's under that, yes, the big season's coming up, retail, advertising, it's all a big deal. All right, so let's get revved up. It's the Ed Tyll Show, Starcom Radio Network.
Grew up working class in a place they call the Bronx. Learned on the corner about the school of hard knocks. Found out his rap could be his salvation. Well, now he's talking all across the nation. It's the Ed Tyll Show. It's the Ed Tyll Show. Come on, everybody. It's Ed Tyll. Now that you tuned him in, you know what I mean. People call him up, discussing every scene. Love him or hate him, he's gonna have his say. He's gonna speak his mind each and every day. It's the Ed Tyll Show. It's the Ed Tyll Show. Come on, everybody. It's Ed Tyll.
It's the Ed Tyll Show. Ed Tyll Show. Ed Tyll Show. It's the Ed Tyll Show. Ed Tyll Show. Ed Tyll Show. Ed Tyll.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, continuing the big international broadcast.
Now, more Ed Tyll.
And let me just say that we can't say enough what the mission of the Senate committee is, which is to look at all activities that Russia might have taken to alter or influence the 2016 elections in the United States. In addition to that, the mission of the committee is to look at any campaign contacts from either committee with Russian government or Russian government officials that might have influenced in any way, shape, or form the election process. We take that very seriously. It's not something that can be done quickly. And when you look at our committee, it is in fact the oversight role that we function in every single day. This is just on a little larger scale. For those that might think or have suggested that this is outside of our expertise, let me remind you, the last public investigation that we did was the Senate investigation into Benghazi. We devoted 3 professional staff to that investigation. It took 1 year. And in comparison to the public hearings that happened in the House, our report and findings were out much quicker than what they were, and I think are consistent with, in fact, what the House process looked like at the end. So let me share with you what we've accomplished to date. We have devoted 7 professional staff positions to this investigation. These are staffers who already had the clearance and already had the knowledge of the materials that they were going to look at that started on day 1. Now, what was day 1? Day 1 was the first public hearing that the committee held with Director Clapper, Director Comey, Admiral Rogers, and Director Brennan when they came to the United States Senate to testify on the completion of the ICA, the report of the last administration on Russia's involvement in the elections. The full committee had an opportunity to ask every one of the 4 IC members initial questions, things that we knew to ask as of that time. Let me assure you that as this investigation continues, we will certainly give those individuals at least once, if not more, opportunities to come back, either in official capacity or in a retired capacity, to come back and share with us answers to questions we might have. The staff has been provided an unprecedented amount of documents. Those documents include documents that up to this point have only been shared with the Gang of 8 and staff directors on the House and Senate side. It's safe to say that our staff currently is working through thousands of raw intelligence and analytic products to, 1, determine whether the process that the reviewers went through to compile their report we're in agreement with, and to see if our confidence levels on their ratings of low, medium, or high confidence in fact match. To date, as I said, they've been provided thousands of pages of documents and have reviewed, to date, a majority of those documents. We're within weeks of completing the review of those documents. I might say that we're